Okay, so I had to restart my PC because Photoshop was not loading in, but let's move on. So we were discussing about RGBA map. So if you don't know, any RGB image has 3 channels. We have discussed channels in normal map. So you have red, green and blue. All of these channels consist of a black and white image, and that's usually gives you all the color that you have. To better describe it, let me just open a image. So let's say this one. If I go to the red, it's a black and white image. If I go to the green, it's a black and white image. If I go to blue, it's a black and white image. So the intensity of the black and white is describing how much red it is, how much green it is, how much blue it is. So if I turn on red and blue, it's combining those two colors, and if I turn on everything, that's giving us our final color. That's usually how channel works for the images, for digital images. But for our purpose, what we are going to do is we are going to plug in a map, a black and white map in the red, in the green, in the blue, and in the alpha channel. And we are going to use that mask to do some certain things inside Unreal Engine. You can do a lot of complex things with it. All we are going to do is make a roughness zone for our face. By that I mean we are going to make a system where we can change the roughness inside Unreal Engine through some sliders in real time. So that kind of get rid of the back and forth which you have to do through Substance and Unreal. And I always appreciate that while look deving it. So there are some ways which people like to do. People like to make RGBA map. Let me just hold on. So there are some certain ways that people like to extract those. Some people go in and create their custom channels and they go to make their export settings. I don't like that. It feels like all of those 4 channels are going in together. So let's say if I want to change one thing, I have to export all those 4s, get one of that, separate it out and make those changes, which is a bit bothering for me. Plus I'm a little lazy. So what I like to do is straight up go to our texture set. To show you guys this the easiest way possible, let's create 4 layers and let's color them red, green, and you guessed it, blue. The last one we can make it maybe pink, I guess. Wait, this is not blue. Let's make this blue. Let's make this one green. Okay, so we have our RGB done. But why is it changing that one? Sorry about that. My Substance is acting a bit weird. So let's add a black mask, add a black mask, add a black mask, add a black mask. Oh, not this. Okay, so we have this guys right here. So our first channel would mostly try to cover everything that we have. So that will be red. Oh wait, I take it back. We don't want to cover everything. We want to create a black background. Okay, so we have 5 layers. We have a background which is completely black. So let's create in our zones. So the first zone will be the nose. And the zones also depend on what kind of zones you need control over. So I usually like to have a control over my nose. Next thing that I like is the forehead. Also, I would like to blur in those masks so it has a fall off. Same for the nose. But let's go in and paint our different. Okay, so we have our RGB and alpha mask made inside Substance, so I know where these thing lies. To make it a proper RGBA map, all you have to do is go to your mask, right click on it, export mask to file. This will export out the mask that we have. So let's name it A. So everything is ported out. Open Photoshop, open these 4 maps, create a new document which will be 4096 by 4096, 72 resolution fine, RGB color. Let's create it. Copy this one, paste it in red. Copy this one, paste it in green. Copy this one, paste it in blue. Create one more channel, copy this one and paste it here. We have our RGB map made up. So now if I want to change any of these specific ones, I can go to Substance, make those changes and export it out again and replace that in the original file. Alright, so that's the system I like to create inside. Just checking if I'm recording or not. That's the system I like to create inside Unreal Engine, where I can play with my sliders. This kinda mostly works with a simple face when you don't have much going on. But let's say you have a lot going on. Tattoos, war paints, wounds, scars, etc. in a same face. You might as well construct a roughness map instead of making something like that. The same thing that we made for Marmoset. But even in the Marmoset one, we did not added those information for the tattoo and other things. So how do we add those? So let's go in and start adding that. So let's group these guys, and this will be our roughness zones. And we have our translucency, detail weight map, our roughness map, which is a basic one. Oh, it's turned off. Why is it not showing it? Oh, my bad. Okay, so this is our roughness map, which is pretty basic and it does not have any additional detail. This is for Marmoset. But let's say we want to add the information that we have just made it in. So we're going to go in and start adding those things. So let's start with our tattoo. I'm going to my tattoo. The last thing that we have, I'm going to create an anchor point that will be tattoo R for roughness. We can just make this one roughness and change it through here, but I like to have a complete different set for roughness that I can tweak and change, which is not committed to these guys. So we have our roughness one. So let's open Marmoset. That's the wrong thing. Let's create a fill, add a black mask, add a fill. We are going to pick in the tattoo R, and this will only change the roughness, and that will define how rough or not rough our tattoo is. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for every other thing that we have. So if I go to my roughness, this is what our tattoo is doing. We can make it less rough or more rough. Okay, so I'm just going to go in and start adding everything that we have made before that into my roughness area. So since I already have a war paint on top of everything, I'm just going to use that instead of creating a new one. So add a black mask, add a fill, use our war paint, which will be this guy, and it will only change the roughness. So it's more shiny, less shiny, more shiny, less shiny. Less shiny, more shiny, less shiny, more shiny. You guys get the point. So we have a mask already made here as well. So I'm going to go in and use that. Add a black mask, add a fill, use our wound one, and this will only control the roughness. Alright, so I can go in and do the same thing for the last wound, but you guys already get the point how you're going to extract these masks and build a different roughness. And it's still gonna be pretty simple, nothing complex. Because as I said, a roughness detail gets a lot noisier. You can add a cavity map in your roughness, but that's a bit overkill if you ask me. Some people do that, some people actually prefer doing that. It looks better to those guys. I'm just throwing in a bit personal opinion here, but if you guys feel that your project is actually being better by a cavity map, make sure to go in and actually do that. I can provide you guys with the feedback and stuff, but in the end it's gonna be your final call. Use your own judgment, because that's gonna improve you as an artist, instead of just following everything I say without trusting your own eyes. So that's something I would recommend. Trust yourself first. For some weird reason that became like a lecture or something. Sorry about that. Okay, so just adding a roughness for, oh, it's reversed. So just adding, where's my roughness? Adding more roughness to the pores. It actually emphasizes the pores a bit more, so you're gonna see more tertiary details, but as I said, it's a little noisy, so try it out. Okay, so we have our roughness done. We have all the supporting maps that we needed to make in Substance. They are done. How are you gonna export it? So to start with, let's start with the main one, which is our base color. So base color will be exported as a base color roughness right here, because it's in the roughness channel. You will export this as a roughness. Our detail weight map, although it has been made a detail weight map, it belongs to the base color channel, so you will export it out as a base color. Same thing for translucency. And our roughness zones, we export it out for Photoshop and combine it there, so no need to export it out. Okay, so that's it for our 5th week, and maybe the last week where we are gonna stay with Substance Painter. In the last one, we are gonna move into bringing everything that we have done so far into an engine, which will be Marmoset or Unreal Engine. Alright, so see you guys in the next week.